All right, let me do a quick sound check. I got to mute, don't I? Okay, let me know if you hear me. Yes and yes. Thanks, Bo. All right, bear with me a minute. Invited anybody? I'll get started in a minute here. Give me a sec. So you just happened upon it. Gotcha. See if we can get this to work. All right, what's up, everyone? Hopefully you're not expecting something structured. I just decided to start experimenting with YouTube Live while I do my watch list for the next day. So I can't promise you're going to learn anything. It's just me doing it live. And one thing I always do is I always start with the watch list that I had yesterday to see if any of them are still relevant or maybe even look better today. So that's kind of what I do. I just, before I even go to any kind of scanner to see what happened today as far as finding, unusual volume and something is with. Maybe I could just make this full size there. Hopefully that worked. I always start with the overnight list from yesterday. So GSKY, and I'll zoom in a little bit here, was already on balanced watch, and we've just got another red day. It's a to me, you should be seeing there it is. To me, it's a great looking setup. I mean, there's no chart to go on. There's no support to the left because it's a relatively new issue, but talk about gapped up the other day and then gapped up the next day. And since it opened at 22 5 sessions ago, I mean, just straight down. So it's a good candidate for a bounce tomorrow. So that's where I started. And I just kind of go through the list, RWLK, which I had a nice trade in today. My problem with this one, just glancing at it, is 5 green days in a row, and then a topping tail today and kind of closing right at the 200 day. I don't see a lot of oomph in this one for tomorrow. So I'll skip that for tomorrow. A lot of times I'll put something like that, hey, it's had recent interest, So I've kind of got one monitor that I kind of put a few stocks off to the side and say, I still want to keep an eye on it, but I don't think tomorrow's the day to watch it. So that's kind of what I'm going to do with RWLK. CORI. CORI, I would say we collectively, it was interesting over 9, right? If you take today's candle out of it, strong day, topped out at 8.99 yesterday, and then you see today went all the way up to 9.66. What I always try to do is look at something like this and say, well, it was on my watch list. Did it give a clean setup, right? So then I go to 5-minute candles just to see, not just solely to lament something that I missed, but just to get a feel, right, for the flow of stocks. And if this did give a setup, and should I have been paying better attention? And in my opinion, the opening candles, just there's no setup there, and it's about I don't know, 35-cent range. Then it gives an inside candle. Then a little strength comes in. So at this point, you might say high of day break with a stop, below 860, and that would have been nice, right? You knew a break of 9 was also a catalyst, so I like stacked catalysts. So, but it's hindsight now. I think at one point I might have seen this in the morning, but in the first 15-20 minutes, I'm certainly more focused on morning gap plays. But you could easily make the argument. You guys know, if you're in chat, I'm not a big fan of looking at something in hindsight and deciding, oh, this was a great setup. But this is something I already had on my watch list and I already had on a chart. You could easily make the argument that a high of day break with a stop below this kind of little tight range here for 10 minutes would have made sense, knowing that a high of day break might get you through 9 and so on, and ended up going through 960. So. But now, 2 days up in a row into resistance, it's not so interesting to me for tomorrow. So for that reason, I won't add it to the list. So far, the only thing I've got on my list for tomorrow, and this is just from the overnight list, is GSKY. By the way, again, this is a new experiment for me. I'm chewing some gum here. If you have any questions or comments, or you were in chat, or you're interested in chat or anything, feel free to type in the chat over there. If you don't have a YouTube channel, it won't let you type any comments in unless you log in through your Gmail account or something like that. So anyway, you should be able to type questions or comments. Even criticisms, I don't care. Okay, so CRMD is interesting to me because I made this huge move from like 30 cents to 80, then pulled back, gave a nice little secondary bounce, but then pulled back again. And then on Friday, nice pop. And then today, actually opened above Friday's high, sold off. But at the end of the day, this was starting to come back up. See this on 15-minute candles? Really like it over 62. Topped out at 62 back here, here, here. So I'm definitely putting CRMD back on the list. I could put 63 on there. Sometimes I'll put a price. A lot of times I'll just put long, on long watch. All right, back to the daily. We're going to look at the next one, GLBS from today. My problem with this one, it's kind of interesting because you had the big pop, and I think this was on earnings, topped out at 60 cents. Now you've got 2 days in a row that it topped out at 48 cents. I think I am going to put this on watch, but my problem with it, anyone want to guess? Anyone who knows me at all and what I look for? I'm going to put 49 cents. It's an interesting number. Make sure the chat's working here. All right. Well, if anyone wants to wager a guess as to what my problem with watching this one again tomorrow would be, no volume. That's it, Braden. That's it. I mean, today, look at this. On Thursday, 4.3 million shares, right? Then Friday, 574,000. And today, all the way down to 90,000. It's like nobody's watching this already. And this is what we're seeing this summer. We're seeing massive volume. And within like 2 days, nobody's watching stocks. And I'm not saying it's fair to call 4 point something million massive volume. Before this stock, it is. But I've shown you guys in chat, those of you that are in chat, some stocks that have traded like 20 million one day, and like 3 sessions later, it's down to 100,000. It's really weird out there, but I honestly think this is vacation time, right? There's not a lot of traders out there. All right, anyway, so GLBS, I went ahead and threw, for lack of a lot of stuff to watch, I went ahead and put it on the list too. CHKE, I don't know. To me, this is still worth watching. It's still trading 420,000 shares today, and it's really kind of in a tight range. So switch to 15s. I don't know. I would need this to kind of get up over 90 or 95 cents, up in this area before it's kind of free of the recent range it's in, and then could maybe make a run through a buck and test this 114 area. I'm going to put it on watch for another day. I think it's one of those that, if it can trade in a narrow range for a while and then break, it could get going. Now today, let me switch to 5s just to show you what happened today. Today it actually did. I mean, look at this, right? This is the opening 5-minute candle. It looks like paint splatter, right? You hear me say that in chat a lot. So really, it feels like nobody's watching this. And then it finally breaks the highs, and it did that on 80,000 shares. So it's like some people are watching it, but look what it did. I mean, it closed this candle here at 90 cents, and the very next candle opened up spreads. So then right away you can go, yeah, nobody's watching this either. But I'm going to have it on watch, because if it gets kind of a high volume spike, we might get a rip through $1 and then a retest of these highs. So I always say this, it doesn't cost you anything to have it on a chart. But I'm certainly not in love with it. When will the volume pick up again? When does summer? I mean, in theory, after Labor Day. But anything can happen. Like I said, August 2016. So that was 2 years ago, and it was August, was the best month I've ever had. I made 50 grand in that month. And I know that's, for me, that was the best month I ever had. So, but this summer is not 2016. It is very, very dead out there. So you have to, I think some golfer said, if you're slicing it for the first 7 holes, at some point you got to compensate for your slice. And some professional, I can't remember who it was, but he basically said you got to dance with who you brung, right? So at some point you got to start aiming left and accommodate your slice. I say that in trading, you got to dance with who you brung. In other words, you got to trade the market that is. And so in this environment, we're not really trading the low flow gappers. I'm being really careful on the 1 or 2 that kind of do show up as the play of the day, and I'm really not trading them, because they're getting slapped all over the place, up and down. They're just almost untradeable. So you have to honor the market that's in front of you, and if you don't recognize it, now I think that's one thing that seasoned traders are better than newer traders at. Over the years, you get better at identifying the market environment you're in quicker, more quickly. So you stop trying the same thing over and over and thinking all of a sudden you suck, right? And I've done that a million times, but I'm starting to get better at saying, hey, this is the market I'm in. You better switch it around or just slow your roll, right? So those of you again in chat, I'm taking, like I think I took 2 trades today. But that's just the market we're in. It doesn't mean that there's not more setups. I could be looking for shape plays, and I could probably be taking 6 or 7 justifiable trades a day. But I'm really just kind of honoring the low volume and relaxing a little bit, right? And if I can find a trade that I can't talk myself out of, then it's probably a trade I should take. Yeah, and the cypress tree, that's a perfect example, is XBIO today. Near the end of the day, or at least in the afternoon, first of all, I liked this flag, but I didn't get involved. I thought if it broke this flag, it might challenge the high of day. And so it broke that flag on volume and then came up here and kind of flagged right below the half. So I thought if it breaks this flag over 47, over 447, probably going to break the half and look to the left. You break the half, you've got, a dime to light up the new highs ticker. And this is what the daily looks like, right? So we all know at the close it's going to have massive volume, and we don't know where it's going to close as the day's unwinding. But we know this is one of those scenarios where shorts might kind of panic near the end of the day and have to cover, right? The shorts have done pretty well knocking down these low price, low volume, low float stocks. So anyway, this is a good example. I'm glad you pointed this one out. So then you get this flag. Yes, it's like it had a pop here and a flag, and then so it's kind of the second flag in a row, which you could argue has less. How do I word it? Has less steam left in it because it's already moved from here to here, flag, and then here to here, so it's extended. But the reason this flag was interesting to me is because the high of day is just above. So if I'm short this thing and it's doing this flag and it breaks this flag, I'm kind of expecting a rip through the high of day, and I can't get out quick enough, right? So you had nice volume come in, and it just didn't go. And then some schmuck on Twitter who people were talking about in chat, somewhere in here starts talking about it's going to 6 or shorts better cover. When I see stuff like that, I see the cocky tweets from a guy who probably has a big following. I just get out. That's the nature of the market again. Anyway, I didn't mean to get mired down in XBIO. I do think it's worth watching tomorrow, but we'll see. Anyway, let's see. CHKE. Actually, XBIO was next on my list. So I am going to put it on watch. But I hate the way it traded this afternoon. That doesn't mean it's not worth watching. We might get a 15-cent range tomorrow morning for the first 30 minutes, and then a high of day break could have some power to it. So it doesn't cost you anything to have it on a chart. I try not to. Actually, let me go back to this. This wasn't around lunch. This flag break, and I'll hover over this. This flag break was at 2:15 in the afternoon, right? So, you're under 2 hours till the closing bell. This flag break was still probably, obviously, now that we see what happened, this was the smarter flag break. But no, during lunch, I try to stay away from flag breaks. But neither one of these, if you took this one or this one, neither one of these to me were during lunch. They were in the afternoon. So, and there's the daily. So I think with that volume, it's going to catch some attention tonight. It's certainly worth watching tomorrow. WIN. I don't know. This one's kind of interesting. You had the flag, and I talked about it. I kind of liked it. I think in the video I said I liked it over 507. Sadly, today, it gaps down a little bit and sells off all the way to 482, which to me makes it really tough to take at 507 when it's just run almost 30 cents, right? 92.02. Yeah, it's run almost 30 cents on a $5 stock. That's a lot. So I see this happening a lot lately. Like I have a certain price that I like, and you hear me say in the overnight videos all the time. I kind of like this over this day's high, over 507, but I don't know how it's going to open the next day. So like in this case, I like this over 507, but I didn't know it was going to open and sell off to almost 480. It makes it really tough to take it right here when it's already been running for basically almost 15 minutes straight. Anyway, I never got involved in this one. And, I don't know. Now my problem is, you've got, I don't know. Where's the next catalyst if it breaks today's high? It's just less interesting to me. I liked it a lot over this inside day. And then you don't really have that scenario anymore. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to leave that one off the list. That's BBP. There's really no setup here other than, 4 sessions ago, it traded over 10 million shares, and it's actually holding up pretty well. Today, it didn't give any kind of a setup. At one point today, I got kind of interested in this one. It probably looked like this. This is a nickel spreader, though. But it topped out at 615 and then came down and really didn't fall that far and started to curl back up. So I thought, well, 620, since it's a nickel spreader, 620 is a high of day break. That's pretty interesting with a stop probably at 6, but it just didn't do anything, right? Nobody was watching it. It didn't do anything. And the day before that, it topped out about 20 minutes in and never broke that. I don't know. I think it's holding up okay. I think it's worth having on watch. I'm going to put it on watch again. And you could argue, you had a nice move, and really you're kind of consolidating. It might break down and it might break up, but huge. Man, when you're on the right side of a nickel spreader, they're super fun, right? Let's see, NGS. Okay, so that's my entire list, and then I'll go over. That's my entire list from last night, and then I always want to also bring up my gap playlist from this morning and see if any of those are interesting. BLRB is a little bit interesting just because big volume today for the stock, and you kind of have a bottoming tail. They did have news this morning, but you've got all this trading just above where it closed. So if I switch to 15s or 30s, I mean, it's got a lot of overhead resistance. I'm going to leave it alone. Nothing compelling there. XBI I already talked about. NVFY, nothing interesting there. ABIL, nothing interesting there. And then NLSN. That could be worth watching because it had the gap up on, I don't know, buyout rumors or a stake and shopping the company out or whatever. A red to green tomorrow might be worth a shot in this one. And since I don't think I'm going to have too many stocks show up on the watch list, I think I am going to put this one on watch. And I'll call it bounce watch. Even though it's not really a bounce because it closed today way above where it closed yesterday, but you did have a red intraday candle, so I'll call it bounce watch. Nickel spreader, and I think they're going to end that program in October. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows. But a nickel spreader is the stocks that trade in nickel increments. So let's go back to what stock? Oh, SBBP was the one. So at any given time, if you look at this on level 2, like it closed at 6, it'll have like a 6 bid and the ask will be 605. There can't be any trades or offers or bids or anything in between. There can't be you can't bid 601 or 602 or 603 or offer that out. All right. So they're forced you to trade in nickel increments. And I don't know what the reason was for that program other than to just piss people like me off. It's kind of like the rule. What's that halt rule? If a stock moves 10% in 5 minutes or whatever that rule, they halt it. Whoever invented that rule, if I ever meet him, I'm kicking him or her right in the nuts. And the same thing with whoever invented the nickel spreader rule. So they're getting rid of that rule in October, from what I understand. Let's see. All right, so where are we? So then I've got a few. Okay, so that's all the gappers. I've got a few that I put in my notes, and this is a good habit to get into. I'll share this idea with you. If you ever see a stock, maybe it wasn't on your watch list at all, right? But you're trading throughout the day, and you see something that, wow, this thing's closing strong. The daily chart looks really good now. Make sure you put that in your notes because, I don't know, like 3 hours later, something might happen in your life where you just completely forget about it, especially if you're getting old like me. I forget what I had for breakfast this morning. So you always want to, I'm getting in a pretty good habit. If I see something that I look to myself and I catch myself thinking, hey, this one might be worth watching tomorrow. The minute I have that thought, I put it on. I always have a WordPad document open with my watch list, right? So if I ever have that thought, immediately I go to that WordPad document and a certain spot on that document, I will put symbols on there. So I remember when I'm building my watch list that night to look at those symbols. Make sense? So here are a few that I had in my, that I put in my notes. So IDRA, this one's kind of interesting, right? You had a reverse split right back here. And a lot of times the reverse splits kind of become in favor. And then you had this nice volume spike here, a red day, and then right back up again. So you could argue stacked catalyst. If we break today's high, which would be 782. Hang on a second here. So as I'm saying these, I always make sure and put them in my notes because as soon as I'm done with this, whatever you want to call this live goofy session that I'm doing. Thanks, Raza. I've got to jump off here. I got to close this and then actually make my watch list video. Which, by the way, I'm not going to mention any names, but I saw somebody on Twitter today who I guess is somewhat Twitter famous. Some woman trader, and she's you could sign up for a monthly fee, I don't remember what it was, you can sign up to get access to her nightly watch list. And I remember thinking, wow, I've been doing a nightly watch list for free since 2004. Should I be charging for it? I'm just kidding. But I thought that was odd. Anyway, IDRA. So IDRA, I'm going to put in my notes. 782 is one potential catalyst, a break of today's high. And then 3 sessions ago, which would have been Thursday, it hit 795. And then you got the whole number 8, which also might be a catalyst, right? An inflection point type trade. So I'm going to write in my notes, IDRA 782 and 796, because those are both potential catalysts. So as I'm talking, I'm writing that. That'll also be on the member page tonight, 782 and 796. And then obviously the whole number above. So that's a pretty good setup right here. And it held up pretty well today. Glance at the SPY real quick. I guess I should have done that. SPY's looking kind of ugly, but it is at the 20-day. It honored it here. It honored it here. So we'll see. A little bit of extra volume the last couple red days. So we'll see. But I don't ever panic because I'm a day trader. So I will just log in tomorrow and try to make some trades, and I'll be in cash before the closing bell. So IDRA is one. CRMD was in my notes, but that's already I've already talked about that. It was already on the overnight list from yesterday, and I added it. Really like that one over 62 cents. IFMK, kind of interesting, right? Because I don't know, like a week ago, had pretty big volume for this stock, almost 7 million shares. And went from 251 to 474, pulled back on almost no volume. And then today, on very little volume, went from 269 to 380. Closing at its highs, though. Usually when I see that stock, let me make that smaller. Usually these continue higher in after hours, but I'm not seeing it. This is my 2-minute chart, and I leave this one with extended hours on it just so I can see if it did anything in after hours. When I saw this and I saw the strong close, I thought, I bet in after hours this was trading at 425 or 430, but that actually didn't happen here. All right, anyway. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's right. Okay, anyway, let's make this big again. So this is a pretty good potential trade tomorrow with the big volume here and then a strong close today. Certainly interesting over 380. This was really spready on this late day run, though. I'll go to 5-minute candles. This made this late day move all like in the last 10 minutes. And actually see how that's different. It says closed at 380, but when you go to 5-minute candles, it closed at 362. My charts do that sometimes. And let's go to 15s, 30, 60. So it looks like it actually closed 60 shows something different. Looks like it actually closed around 362, not 380. Anyway, I'm going to put that in my notes. IFMK. Definitely want to watch that one. Writing that down. Oh, thank you. Trading with Mr. T. Cool name. All right, so that's that one. Let's see, I have one more in my notes. I threw near the end of the day, I threw NIHD on watch. I don't love this, but this was super strong back here, then absolutely fell off the map. But a little bottoming tail and kind of held the $5 area a couple sessions ago. Then a nice bounce on Friday all the way to 545. And then today, pretty strong close too in a weak tape, topped out at 540. So I don't know. It's interesting over 540, knowing that Friday's high was 545. That's another potential catalyst. Definitely going to put that one on watch too. NIHD, I'm going to put 5.41 and 5.46 as potential catalysts. In other words, a break of today's high and then a break of Friday's high. So that's actually probably enough of a list right there. But then I also want to, and if I have a fairly sizable list and I know it's a low volume August, let me look at EKSO. Somebody posted in here. Sorry, I got a new chair. This chair is getting squeaky. All right, so EKSO, it's actually holding up really well. You know, after this run, and somewhere you can see here, like it had this nice breakout. The very next morning they had earnings, and it gapped down, but it held up really well. So that's, that's interesting. And then a nice strong day, and then you think, okay, now it's rolling over, and they bought it right back up again. I'm going to put that on watch. Thank you. The cypress tree one. Thanks for that heads up. I'm going to put that on long watch too. And again, I don't live and die by the daily chart as far as picking potential catalyst numbers, but 271 is kind of interesting. That's a break of today's high, which was basically inside of Friday's range. And then Friday's high was 280. So you could say 271, potential catalyst, right? And then 281, another potential catalyst, a break of any recent high. Whoops, sorry about that. So I'm putting those two numbers on that one. That was you, not me. All right, so let's go to, then I have a screener that I simply look at. I'll even share some of my parameters with you. I mean, none of them are really proprietary, or none of them are real genius scans. They're just kind of simple. Like one of them is a bounce experiment. Well, I shouldn't call it. I named it bounce experiment years ago. But I'll tell you some of the parameters that I have for it. And it's a scan or a screener that I rarely use, but it's I randomly pick stocks between $1 and $90. Average volume, 50-day average volume, a minimum of 600,000. So these are kind of, you can tweak anything like this. But the cool thing about this scan is it looks for stocks that are red at least the last 4 days in a row. And today, the price declined 5% or more. So what you have on this screener is a stock 4 days down in a row and lost 5% just or more just today alone. I think it's kind of a fun scan. I can't say that it gives me a lot of great ideas. But if, for instance, this GSKY that I already had on my watch list falls on it. So if you like to play, oversold stocks, you want to make sure that they still give you a low risk setup on an intraday basis. But here's some that are showing up on the scan. That was GSKY, ABEO, which is pretty close to support. I think that's a nickel spreader too, so be careful. Let's see, BEON. And some of these I'll look at them and they just look terrible. It doesn't really interest me. That one doesn't really interest me. And usually, here's another thing. If I'm looking at this scan and I find a stock that's down 4 or 5 days in a row and I see the word pharmaceuticals in it, I usually leave them alone. I'd rather play something that, or at least watch something that I can identify what the company does. And pharmaceuticals, I don't try to catch bounces in those. It's kind of a scary exercise. Either one of these, TUR or TKC, might be worth having on a chart or on your trading platform, just in case while you're trading, stupid as this sounds, just in case while you're trading, your news platform puts out, hey, Turkey's going to release that hostage or whatever, you know what I mean? Or if there's any kind of hint of a resolution in Turkey, there's a couple stocks you could get a nice bounce on. And this one, TUR, is just the Turkey ETF, and TKC is the only publicly traded Turkish stock that I know of. So either one of these could be on just have them ready to go in case there's good news out of Turkey. Anyway, TROX, it's kind of down in no man's land, just falling apart. A lot of times I'll go to the weekly and see if there's any support. It's near the 200-week moving average. If you're so inclined, I wouldn't take a day trade off the 200-week moving average, though. Whoops. AKA, and that's another pharma, so I'm not going to mess with it. And then GEMP. Oh, I'm on weekly candles here. That's part of the problem. Today's high on GEMP, 189. Yesterday's 193. So you could argue set catalyst there. If it breaks today's high over 189, it might get through that 193. 2 could be an inflection point and maybe squeeze above that too. So these aren't normally done live, are they? What does that mean? You mean while the market's open, Dave? let me know. I'll keep moving and I'll wait because I know there's a big delay. So I'll wait, and when you answer, I'll answer your answer. So that's all I've got as far as those potential bounce plays. I have another scan that just looks for stocks that are just really beaten up today. So it might be today's the first red day, but sometimes these can yield something that I really like. So I'll just rip through these real quick. Well, this isn't the actual, that video will be out later, Dave. I'm just kind of building my watch list right now, and I thought it'd be fun to go live and just see if anyone wanted to hang out. But this isn't my, as soon as I get off here, as soon as I got my list finalized, I will actually make that same video that you're used to seeing every night. So that'll be up, I don't know, 30 minutes after I jump off here. This is just me experimenting, me goofing around, me sick of being in my office by myself at night. One of these days, I'm gonna get drunk while I do it and see if I can entice somebody else to do that with me. Thanks. Nice to have you here. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on this overstock. It's kind of interesting in that it gapped up, I guess, on earnings, and then 2 days in a row right down to support. But I don't know. It's a tricky trader. I'm gonna move on. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna watch it. Some stocks I just can't get a handle on. All right, so again, another, this is interesting because it's really beaten up, took out support, but it's fallen a long way to get there. But then I look up and see pharmaceuticals. I'm just going to move on. So then I go to a scan. And again, I'm not going to do this every night, guys, but every now and then I thought it'd be fun. I'm going to go to a scan of really big relative volume, strong moves today. So DBD shows up. I don't really have any interest in that one. CHRA. And again, this list is almost always smaller on a slow summer than it would be on a normal day. Yeah, I never thought of that. I guess it will save this video. Again, I'm experimenting with YouTube Live, but it's going to be a long video for people to watch. So I probably will make another one. CHRA looks like a relatively new issue. Even with today's big volume spike, that was still only 452,000. I mean, I do try to look at the range, and it went from 666 to 819. And when I see that, but I say, well, that's still only on 452,000. I try to go to 5-minute candles just to see how it looked intraday. And I don't know. I look at this and I see gaps when you see gaps between 5-minute candles, that just kind of tells you how thin and spready a stock is. And while it might yield a decent trade, it's not. And by the way, XBIO is on this scan. Not surprising, right? Big relative volume mover today. TIS, I like strong moves that are kind of in breakout territory when something's really beaten up like this and it's just kind of retreading. But this is such a big volume move that I just wouldn't be right not to throw it on my watch list. So I am going to watch it. $65. And I did see some people at it, but I'm going to watch it tomorrow. No, Wayne doesn't have anything to do with my overnight watch list or anything. He's just my partner for the trading course. He's a workhorse as far as putting together those. Two sections. He's got 24 hours worth of recorded trades that he's translated to where you can watch them live in the course and the refresher courses. But he doesn't have anything to do with the chat room or the overnight list. But he's definitely a workhorse. Okay, so I am going to put TIS on the watch list. Thoughts on Roku, Dom? I just don't trade that one. This was for the last 3 days. This was the lowest volume day, and that was 15 million shares. And I just don't. These stocks that can trade 40 million shares in a day, and and they're trading at $55. I don't have a handle on them. I just they're too tricky for me. There's some people that thrive on these. I see Wayne calling this one every now and then, like through a whole number. If I had to guess, I think he called it through 58, maybe right here. I'm a little bit guessing, but maybe through 57 here. I mean, he's pretty good at these, but they're just not my thing. And just glancing at the chart, though, if that's what you're asking, I mean, very strong breakout attempt. You can kind of picture, and this is the entire trading ever on Roku because it's a relatively new issue. So you can kind of picture a little cup and handle right here. You could even see a trend line from here to here. And it kind of tried to break the trend line right here. See how quickly I can draw a line. I don't usually put trend lines on my chart. And let's see, I use segment. Right, so you can kind of picture a trend line right there, which also sort of translates to a cup and handle. There's your cup and there's your handle. Well, it gapped up and ripped through that. But, when you figure that the day before that happened, it closed at 47.25. Well, in 1.5 sessions, it's up at 60. That's a huge move. So I look at this as a nice breakout attempt. It came a long way to break these highs in a very short period of time. So for me, just glancing at this pullback on lower volume is certainly worth watching, especially if it comes down another day, maybe retest the 8-day or retest this trend line, retest this high right here, which was 51.82. So if it gets down around 52, you've got the 8-day plus a retest. That would be an area that I might look to start, looking, see if it gives me a low risk long setup on an intraday basis. But remember, I don't hold overnight and I'm not a swing trader. And if I were to have bought this pullback today, or if it comes down here tomorrow to the area that I like, and I bought it and held overnight, it would open down here the next day. So I just don't hold overnight. But for just at a first glance, after all that, it looks like it's acting pretty well. All right, and you're kind of on a lower volume pullback. Where it's pulling back to, I have no idea. Right, that's why I don't swing trade. Yeah, I don't short either, Pappy. I don't, and so even on a weekday, you can find a shape play, right? Like some people call them rubber band reversals or whatever. I can always find something to go long, right? And so I just, I focus on my strengths, and so I do spot short opportunities every now and then, but lo and behold, when I find something I love, the shares won't be available. To me, the most profitable short ideas are the low float, what you call crap stocks, right? That are gapping up in the morning on stupid news. And there's a handful of people out there that make a killing shorting them. And I tip my cap to them, and I'm a little bit jealous of them. But I can't get shares to short. I don't know if, they're using prop firms or trading on an overseas prop firm or what they're doing, or they're reserving shares ahead of time. They call their broker and they can, but it's just not my thing. I run a chat room. I've been doing it since 2004. And so I'm aware that most people can't short those, right? So I've just never even tried to short them myself because I don't want to be the guy going, hey, I just made 10,000 shorting that, even though I think most of them probably should be shorted. Especially if you find a low risk setup. I'm aware that most people aren't going to want to hear me say, hey, I just made a killing shorting this, because most people in our chat room aren't going to be able to short it. And I can't either. And I'm not putting my money at some prop firm to short them. But again, I fully respect these guys on Twitter, that do short those low price stocks. I do. I fully respect them. I'm not bitter about it. I'm not competing with them. But those are also the guys that I make a bunch of money off of when they do, on those rare occasions where a short or small float junk stock, low, penny stock gaps up and then catches them off guard and gives me the long setup that I look for. Those are the guys that I'm making the money from, because a lot of times they're adding to their shorts, right? And they're causing a short squeeze for me. But I only trade those when I get a low risk long setup. Oh, thanks, Dave. Yeah. If you only knew my whole story, well, maybe you do. I don't know. But I spent 2 decades on a General Motors assembly line. The last 6 years maybe, with a laptop and an air card, studying the markets, trading, blowing up accounts, building, working overtime to get the money back, and so on. So I consider myself like a blue collar trader. People on the line laughed at me like I was wasting my time, but I didn't have to serve my whole 30 years. I got to finally leave after a little more than 2 decades as a professional trader. So when people email me now and say, well, I don't have the luxury that you do, I can't sit in front of a computer screen and trade. So I have a real job. I get that all the time, right? So I can't do what you do. I don't have a choice. I just chuckle because I'm self-taught from an assembly line. I don't know too many places where it would be harder to trade from than what I taught myself. So I don't want to say I don't have empathy. I understand what it's like, but if you that all the time, well, General Motors probably had one too, but I wasn't on their network. I was on a laptop and an air card in a big metal building. So again, if you want it bad enough, you can learn it. Thanks, Dave. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I think it says, I think on the page you're talking about, it says $4.99 for a year, but it's a free upgrade to lifetime. So when you go to the checkout, it'll say lifetime membership. So if that's confusing, I'm glad you're telling me that, because maybe I need to fix it. But it should say $4.99 for a year, and then somewhere in red, I don't have the page in front of me, it should say free upgrade. So when you go to the checkout, it'll say lifetime instead of 1 year. And then no, there's never any money on top of it. I don't pull any kind of, if anyone in here is from my chat room and you're a lifer, can you verify for me that I don't ever hit you with any other fees or anything? I'm a straight up guy. I'm a real honest guy. I know a lot of people expect shady nonsense. Yeah, it's $4.99 for a lifetime. And that's, again, back to my story. That is part of why it's $4.99 for a lifetime, because when I was on that assembly line, I was trying out all kinds of chat rooms. And I was paying $200 or $250 a month for these chat rooms while I was trying to learn to trade. And then next thing you know, I'm losing money trading. Next thing you know, my credit card's getting billed another $250 for the chat room fee for another month. And I always told myself, if I ever start my own chat room, if I ever figure this things out, I'm going to be the working man's price. So people can, not get hit with recurring fees and all that. And so anyway, is Tim Sykes still around? Well, again, Tim Sykes is a guy. I've actually had it out with him online before years ago, but he's had it out with everybody, like anywhere from Shaq to Maria Bartiromo to me to whatever. But I actually respect his marketing skills, and I respect what he did, turning his bar mitzvah money into $1 million or whatever. And another thing I respect about him is I think he was kind of the innovator. He was the first one, as far as I know, that figured out all these email pumps, right? You get all these emails of stock XYZ, and here's this huge report, and here's why you should get in now before it triples. He was the first guy that I know of that said, hey, how can I profit off these BS emails? And he figured out how to short those things, and he made a killing. So I have a lot of respect for him for that. I don't know much else about him other than his marketing skills. But what he did there, to me, is impressive. And like I said earlier, I respect anyone who's shorting these low price junk stocks and killing it, because most of them gap up and then they end up, crappy by the end of the day. I can't short them, but I mean, I respect it. So anyway, where was I? So RSLS shows up on that scan. Man, there's nothing. I'm not even sure why this is showing up on the giant mover scan. I guess technically it closed yesterday or Friday at 9.5 cents, and today 13. So technically, even though you look at the chart, technically it did make a big up move today. What should you expect from a chat room? I mean, have you been in any? Because there's some terrible ones out there, and there's some good ones out there. And I'm not here. I just wanted to build a watch list tonight and have some company. I'm not going to bash anybody. But one thing I will say though is when you log into StockTwits or anything that might be stock related, and you see ads, you see the same faces over and over. I would just ask yourself, why is it, if this person is such a good trader and they're helping so many people, why are they still advertising? One, wouldn't word of mouth get around? And by the way, my advertising budget so far for 2018 is zero. I don't advertise. But if they're so good, why are they advertising so much? And there's one guy that I know that advertises a lot that somebody told me in chat the other day. And again, I will not name names, and I really don't want anybody to in here either. I think they said he's down like 200 grand on the year. And he advertises his millionaire lifestyle and you can pay him $5,000 a year to be part of his program. Yeah, I don't know. So I would say stay away from the people who advertise and actually try to listen to some people that have been in the room, because there's a couple of guys out there, and again, I promise I'm not going to name anybody. There's a couple of guys out there that are full on charlatans and they advertise like crazy. And one in particular, I don't dispute that he's making a killing, and I think his trades where he tells you he entered and tells you he exited, I think those are all real. But most of those charts, when you look at them, if you've been trading for even more than a minute, you can see where the volume came in, where he sold, and then how it fell off a cliff because all of his members said, "Oh, you sold," and then it's you head for the exits. It's musical chairs. That's not real trading when someone's gotten so big that they create the volume, they sell into the volume, and then there's a bunch of bag holders left, and then they watch his video that night after getting their ass handed to them, and they say, "God, he made 5,000 on that trade, and I lost 2,000," right? And they literally think to themselves, "Man, I suck as a trader. I just got to get as good as him," when they don't realize, because they're new. I'm not saying they're stupid. I would have fallen for that too when I was new, but they don't realize because they're new that their $2,000 loss was part of his $5,000 gain, right? They were contributing to it. So what to expect from a chat room? I think the best thing about my room isn't me. I think the best thing about my room is so many people working together and trying to post ideas. And the cool thing about it's kind of an old technology. We use HotCom. And it looks like a year 2000 chat room where a guy like me would try to pick up Asian women. I mean, that's what the technology looks like. But the cool thing about HotCom is you can watch the chat for a couple days and you can see everything's time stamped, which most chat rooms are. You can see who posted, "Hey, look at XYZ. I like it here. Or I like it if it does this." And then later, XYZ's up 50%. You can do a chat room search and see who posted it first and was their post timely. And if you start to see a pattern, hey, Jimmy John is posting amazing setups before the move, right? You can put them on what's called your hot script list. And then Jimmy John will be on your hot script list. And anyone on that list will appear in a separate window, separate from the main chat room. And you can set it up to get an audible alert whenever anyone on your hot list or hot script list posts, right? So our room is like a great scanner. Even if I'm having a terrible week and I can't find anything, or I can't find anything today, or Wayne's made 2 calls and they both failed, you're not logging in every day for me or for Wayne. You're logging in because you found several good traders, and maybe they're like-minded. They trade like you, right? And you can actually, it's like its own scanner. So to me, I'm not the best thing about the room at all. Like I said, I placed 2 trades today. It's the teamwork in there and the ability to find like-minded traders, people that trade the way you do, right? That and there's no pumping allowed. There's just no pumping allowed at all. If somebody types in the room, hey, XYZ is going to 25, right? And it's trading at 23 or 24. Or I don't care if it's trading at 24.90. Like 6 of us will jump on that person and say, "You can't say that." When you say something that sounds like a definitive statement, right? XYZ is going to 25. You say it like it's a fact. I remember when I started trading, I remember how it felt when I'm in a chat room and I'm assuming everyone in there is a great trader, right? And I'm just the only new person. And so somebody types in XYZ is going to 25 and I look at it and say it's trading at 23. I'm going to go all in full margin because somebody, a professional trader in my mind, just told me it's going to 25. So we don't allow definitive statements like that, so there's just no pumping or anything. You can say, I think if XYZ breaks this resistance, it might make a run to 25 because that's where the 200-day is. It's the next slide. You could say something like that. You could put forth your thesis, and then everyone understands why you think it might. But we just don't allow, hey, this one XYZ is not done today. We don't even allow that because it sounds like it's not done today, and you don't, right? Anyway, enough of that. I don't give IRA advice. I mean, I don't. Let me just leave it at that. I don't give IRA advice because I'm a day trader. And Wayne talks about, hey, I'm putting this one because of its yield and it's getting killed today. Wayne will say, I'm going to buy a few from my IRA, but he'll also follow me. We're not investors, and I don't want anybody to think I am. All right. Anyway, I'm going to get back. I'm going to make sure there's no other questions. That's funny, Logan. Yeah, the platform it's ancient, but like I said, because of the hot script, to me, it's worth it. Thanks, Bruce. And see, that's another thing. Some of these guys that run these rooms, they've gotten so big that I almost think there's two problems with them. One, I almost think they've forgotten how to trade because they've gotten so spoiled that every time they say, hey, I'm in XY, like some sort of low float, low price stock, they can literally move it like 30%. That's not working for them right now, and they're frustrated. But in a market where, what we call it fishing with dynamite market, where everything's working, these guys aren't even really looking at setups anymore. They're just saying, hey, I'm in this one. The market opens. This guy just says, I'm long XYZ. The opening tick. Now, if he didn't have a chat room, that's a complete crapshoot, right? It's a complete coin flip. But if you've got 2,000 people that are going to follow what you just did, you can make a pretty good living in a good market where people are happy to chase stuff. So that's one. I think some of these guys that may have been great traders at one time have literally forgotten what a setup looks like because they don't have to know. They can just buy something, tell everybody they just bought it, and people are happy to follow. So that's one problem with them. And the other problem is a lot of them take huge gambles. And the reason they take huge gambles is if they can tweet a screenshot, I made $28,000 in an hour today trading XYZ. And they've got a screenshot so everyone can see that they actually made $28,000. And I'm not disputing that they did when you see those. I've been running a chat room a long time. I promise you, they get a flood of signups from that. Even if they're down 50 grand on the month, they post that $28,000 gain from today. They will get a flood of signups because everyone's chasing the money. This guy must know what he's doing. So they find themselves gambling just for that screenshot, right? Just for that one big trade, even if they're down big on the year, because they know that screenshot will get them a bunch of signups. It's just the way it is. I'm just telling you guys how it is. And it's a temptation. It's a temptation that's, I think, the thing I'm most proud of with my own self is I still won't do that. And I know if I have even just a 5-figure trade, 5-figure gain in one day, and I post that, I'll get a bunch of signups that night. But I'm not willing to risk enough money to get a 5-figure gain in one day. I'm just not. All right. Anyway, I don't see any other questions. So I've already got a huge list. I mean, bigger than usual. I bet I have at least 12 stocks on the list. And if you want me to, I can go over them again. But let me real quick. This one's a little bit interesting. Does anybody know what popped CVM today? It had the huge gap down. Then you had this pop that went to 129, and it did nothing. Then a nice volume day today that topped out at 105. Most of the cannabis stocks are over the counter, and I don't allow over the counter in my room. But they're not all. CGC comes to mind. Is it NEPT also, I think? But overall, we're all day traders. So I can't say that anyone's just focused on, on cannabis stocks or anything like that. Braden, are those cannabis stocks that you're posting, or are you asking something about them? Anyway, I've got a long enough list that I don't think I'm going to mess with that CVM, but I'll go to another scan here to see if anything else shows up. TRS, pan out a little bit here. I don't know. It could continue. It's a strong stock, nice volume today with a pretty strong close. That's one of those that I think I'm just going to take and put on my one month. It's not going to be on the list, but I'll be able to have an eye on it tomorrow. Oh, what do I think about CASI? Okay, thank you. I don't know. This had to make a 2-day or a day and a half run to take out new highs. I've traded CASI before, and it's kind of a whippy trader. It basically had 2.5-day run from 7-ish to 9-ish, topping tail. I just don't really have an opinion on it at all. 1.1 million today. I'm gonna have to give you my famous no opinion on that one. And ITUS a very tough trader. I had this. I just talked about this. I had this on that other monitor that I didn't put it on the overnight watch list, but I was aware of this one, and I did have it on a monitor today, but I never called it or did anything with it. It was kind of interesting to me. Actually, today, if you look at the chat logs, I'll bet you anything right here, because I remember this, saying ITUS right back to high of day. Like I saw this early spike, but it had already run yesterday, so I didn't do anything with it. The obvious call would have been 437, a high of day break. And, even then, look at that. It went to 460 and right back to probably 437 again. That's what I mean. And I encourage you all to look at stocks that give you little intraday resistance breaks and then look at what they did, especially in this environment. ITUS is a perfect example. I was scared of this one because I've traded it before in the past and I knew it was squinky. And look at this. It's a 5-minute candle. Went from the breakout to almost 460, and in that same 5 minutes all the way back down. It's a great example of how things are right now. Let's see here. I wish I had a better answer for you, but NITUS has already had a 2-day run. Now, it could open tomorrow at 455 and go to 650. I have no idea. But don't ever let me, when I'm babbling here, don't ever let me talk you out of anything, because keep in mind, I'm just a guy who builds a watch list, but I don't know what it's extended. I might be done. I'll check one more scan. And normally, like if right now at this point in my watch list building, hang on one second. At this point in my watch list building, if I only had like 6 stocks, then I would start going through my same scans. I would start going through my same scans for yesterday's date and the day before, and so on. But I've already got it. I kind of just know. And you've already gone through. Just say you had the slow market, then you normally do. But I'm retweeting something here. All right. I should probably like send out an email that I'm going to be doing this, and we'll probably get a bigger crowd in here. All right. Anyway, let's look at a few more. So SYY, there's nothing I can do with that. I mean, it might have a continuation day, but wow. This RDFN, I know it sounds weird. This one's actually a little bit interesting. Because you had this big sell-off, and I've said this before, a lot of times when sellers get a hold of something like they did on Friday, I mean, it's just no bounce. They're just relentless, right? I mean, look at that. So that was RDFN on Friday, and then today, kind of a narrow range, but closing actually broke the early highs right at the end of the day, which I hate when that happens, but could have a continuation or a follow-through day on the bounce. I don't know. I'm going to put it on that one monitor, but it's not going to make the watch list. All right, so are there, I'll tell you what, let me go to my giant, I got one scan I call giant movers, and then I'll choose Friday's date and run that scan, and we'll look at a few of those real quick, and then Thursday and so on. MDLY. I don't trust that one. Wow. How weird this market is. Gaps up on a breakout, then the next day closes down below the entire day's range or right near the bottom of the previous day's range, but then closes green. I mean, there's just some weird charts out there. EVG, round trip after the gap up on Friday. AWX, I know this is one bizarre chart, right? I need to look at that. I haven't looked at it in a couple of days, I think, Braden. Let me look at it just a second. This is one bizarre chart. And it topped out at the whole number 4, which always makes it interesting. And over 4, you kind of have a potential gap fill. I don't know. It's one of those I'm not putting on the watch list, but I'm going to throw on a chart. In case, so maybe I'll see it setting up out of the corner of my eye if it AWX. I'll throw that up there. All right, let me look at Arlo. Wow. I'd almost like to see that go to new lows. Like I said, I love the product, so I'm interested in the stock because I love the product so much. But I mean, there's no chart pattern there. It's just chaos, right? Had a great opening day, then a couple red days, so it was kind of orderly, and then a nice bounce. But then it flushes, bounces, and I mean, look at the range. Yeah, I just unfortunately, let me know if you see something in the coming days. But I don't need. To me, I don't have any reason to have it on a chart right now. I don't want to get enamored with it just because I like the product. AMPE. There, I'm going to go back to Thursday and look at the giant movers on Thursday. A lot of times, this is how I find a lot of my setups. You'll find something that ripped a few days ago, and then if you're looking for 3 day ago rippers, for lack of a better way of putting it, a lot of times you'll have a couple lower highs, and you kind of have that here in this BEL. I don't know why. I just don't trust this one, but that might be worth watching. Wow. IDSA is already on what? No, it's not. I was thinking, IDSA. Never mind. CARV, I don't trust. Really, really thin stock. And VAX, I've never liked that one. It's kind of interesting though. Nice volume on Thursday, then a couple days lower on much lower volume. Getting back near the 8 and 20 day. Could be worth watching for a bounce play tomorrow. It's just generally a narrow range stock, so it's not that interesting to me. Nothing there. Again, the chart wise, candlestick wise, this one's interesting, right? You have this nice pop and then a couple days lower on declining volume. Great setup, maybe a break through the half tomorrow. My problem, and you probably already see it, 50,000 shares today, right? And even on the big day, it only traded 442,000. So it's just kind of too thin for me to trade. Let's see. WIN. We talked about that one. CTXR. Speaking of CTXR, this is one of those examples of, one of those rooms that ran it, and the guy running the room from the video I saw made a killing, and there's no way that 90% of the people didn't get their ass handed to them. Here it was. I saw the video, the guy running the room, like, I don't know, bought here, added here, sold here. And these are 2-minute candles. And then, boom. So that's what I mean by you got to be careful what room you join, because some of these rooms are actually just so big, I guess, that it's only the first people in that make the money and everyone else provides the money. Hence the ads, so we can bring new people in to provide more money, so we can brag about more winning trades, so we can provide, get more people in. It's a vicious cycle. I'm going to go back one more day and I'm going to get out of your ears. I'm all the way back to August 8th now, and tomorrow's the 14th. And again, I'm just looking at August 8th, the big movers. This one is probably, if you like I don't want to say higher price, because that's still, that's not a high price stock, but compared to the single digit stocks that I like, that one's certainly worth watching. Big day, few days down, gap down today, but has a bottoming tail. Certainly worth watching. You look at it on 5-minute candles. It never broke its opening 15-minute high. So I don't love it, but you might want to have that one on your list. Triple D. Have any opinion on that one at all? Maybe after another red day, I might. As I wind this down, are there any questions, comments, complaints? I can take it. In a slow summer. This one's a little bit interesting. INSY, just kind of chopping sideways after the gap up. HTGM, I never trusted. JONE, let me see. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of something like this. Oil kind of had a bottoming tail today. Oil sort of holding up. Something has certainly been getting into JONE lately. And it looks like it never broke its early. I would not talk you out of watching that one, just because it had a really nice move from the low here was 34 cents. And in a few sessions went up to 57. A couple days, but I don't love it. I don't really have an opinion on it. Look at that HDP again. Wow. SBBP I already talked about. ABIL. Yeah, that's it. I've got plenty to put on the list. And you're right. I kind of wish I'd just made this the video, but it's way too long. So I'm going to have to give a very condensed version of my watch list. ELF, I have no idea. I don't have an opinion. Anytime you get a big gap down like that, a lot of times they go into a range, right? And so these are daily candles. So right now the range is from here to here, and it's getting back up near the high of the range. So my instincts say it's probably a better short up here, but then you have a possible gap fill. So I never know. I like stuff with, stacked catalysts. And for me, it's just down here in no man's land. I just really don't have an opinion on it. 5-minute candles. I don't know. It looks pretty orderly today. Nice move, flag, move again. But I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it. Hey, no, I appreciate y'all coming in to hang out with me. Again, I'm not going to do this every night. I just thought it might be fun, and it's a little less lonely. If you're wondering, I would not be talking out loud if I didn't have this on live. I make my watch list quietly at night. So I don't want y'all to think I'm doing this and babbling, even if you're not here. I'm only doing this for you guys. But I think, hopefully maybe next time I'll advertise, hey, I'm going to do the watch list at 7 o'clock and we get a crowd in here, and I'll buy drinks. Somebody else has to bring the appetizers. All right. All right. Well, if you you want the condensed version of tonight, you're going to get it here shortly because I'm getting ready to jump off here and make the watch list, and then the video will be up. And for those of you that are in my chat, I'll see you guys in the morning. Everyone else, thanks for showing up. I'm done babbling, guys.